how easy it is in a moment of grief to make a mistake is also something I think a lot of people don't expect and could be very surprising. So, how difficult could this be to try and kind of tackle this on your own and rely on like the courts or the government or friends and family to kind of make these decisions with you? Like, where do you, a lawyer and an accountant, really come in and advocate on your behalf to make this thing as smooth as possible?
Yeah, I think the complexity and, again, there's so many factors where when somebody gets thrown into a survivorship, like a spouse dies,
Yeah.
you're right. A lot of assets in common law states, it's pretty easy. Most states are common law, unless you're in Louisiana or Texas or I think California. But common law states is pretty much it. Anything I own goes to my wife. Boom. Okay. Easy enough, unless I deed it or title it beneficiary, et cetera, et cetera. But for a lot of people, hiring legal support and administrator and a state administrator can be well worth the cost for just the peace of mind and checking boxes that you're unaware that you need to check. Also for handling things like, especially interstate laws. Like, I had a client who I think their dad passed away and they found out they owned land in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. And it was a deed with seven other people, and six of those people were dead. So they're like, the heck do we do? So they're like, this is Pennsylvania law. Like it's totally different than North Carolina down here. So, yeah, having an estate attorney can be well worth it for a lot of people. Again, it does cost, but I always tell people you get what you pay for,
What you
and
pay for.
the time savings is a big benefit too. The CPA, the accountant, also a huge benefactor there, where if it is certain accounts like a IRA, an investment account, life insurance, all these things have different tax nuances to it. And again, most people don't know. Like I've heard horror stories of, spouse dies, wife inherits $250,000 401k, and what she do? She cashes it out because she's like, I needed the money. It's like
Yeah.
all of it? Well, not at once, but I might. And so she took a $250,000 income that now is parked in the bank because she might need the money. It's like, hold up. So, yeah, there are a lot of things when people grieve, we don't think logically, et cetera. So, I think that's the biggest benefit is if someone passes, having a financial advisor, who can help on those things, like, making sure that stock investment accounts get a step up in basis, that deeds get titled correctly, that accounts are set up correctly, the accountant who can help even file the final tax return, the estate attorney, again, that can help administer with the estate. So there's so many factors that are well worth it for people.
And how did you separate? Because being the advisor, I'm sure the family relied on you pretty heavily. How do you
Mhm.
separate? But you also had time to grieve. So how do you separate the grief from the responsibility of being an advisor, and one that the family relied on?
Yeah, man, it was hard. And I say that, you know, humbling in that I'm human. The day we found out dad passed, my natural gumption was like, I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna handle it. Um, so I took the reins. I didn't want to put the burden on my sister. She has her own kids and job, et cetera. And,
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I'm fortunate. I can move my meetings. I've got staff that can handle my business for me while I'm gone, but I need to step away. But it's hard to break away completely. I mean, even the week after dad passed, I did work and, we had funeral plans and all that. Like that whole day, I cleared my schedule, I handled what I did. But, you're a financial advisor, like clients depend on you too. So I'd get phone calls or emails. Hey, you got time to chat? You want to do this, et cetera. And like I remember one client called me and, I'm in the middle of digging through old bills my dad had. And yeah, it's kind of like, God, can you give me a freaking hour, so emotionally it was stressing, man. And, but I also had to keep moving forward. And that's the thing. And I don't say that, negatively to like the fact that I didn't grieve because I did grieve and I still grieve, I mean, there's so many mornings I wake up and I think of my dad or I'll think of, I'd love to text him about what happened at the Braves game yesterday and how we blew our lead or whatever. And just to talk to him, it's like I realize I'm like, oh, I can't anymore. And it hurts, but I think the important part is being able to take that grief and celebrate, what you had and the memories you had. And my dad and I's relationship was not that good. It had gotten better the last few years, and I'm grateful for that because I learned to forgive him for some of his bad moves and his gambling problems. And, and he had some favoritism towards my older sister. And I mean, there was a lot of shit and baggage, I dealt with. But as I got older, I was like, look, me carrying this is not worth it. I need to forgive him and get over it. So our relationship was a little bit better. But still, at the end of the day, like, losing somebody is natural. Like, we have to embrace that. We have to remember, like, we're gonna lose people we love. And I think being in business and sharing the story and talking to clients, that was helpful, man. Because
Yeah.
clients ask me, like you and I, hey man, what's new? How's life? You tell someone like, oh, my dad passed away, and they're like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And I still remember probably a week after, I got a card from one of my clients who I hadn't talked to, and they sent a card, like, hey, thinking of you, so sorry. I was like, how in the world did they know? Well, they called my office, and Rena, my amazing associate, told them. It's like, hey, Andrew's going to be out of the pocket. If you need anything, call me. So yeah, having that ability to grieve when I needed to was important, but also not being stuck, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, because everyone plays their role, right? Everyone in the family plays their role, and then the people in your life also play their role. Like, it was important for some of my family members, important for my parents, my brother, to drive down on middle of the week to be there for the wake and funeral because they wanted to be there for me and Jazz. It was important to me to, because they were thinking, what do we do for the eulogy? I just said, who has something to say? Because that's the first step of eulogy. I was like, I could plan it like this, and that, and that was one thing they were going to rely on Jazz for. And I was like, Jazz, I can do it. Just let me write it. Like, let me do this. It's my duty to the. I kept saying, duty to the family. Like, Will, thank you for driving us everywhere. It's my duty to the family, right? My friends calling me, checking up on me because we moved the wedding. So my dad was like, "Do you want us to call the uncles and the cousins?" I'm like, no, let me do it because it felt good. Like, it felt good calling my cousin, who also experienced a tragedy similar to this, with her brother, my cousin. So it just felt good talking to people, talking to a friend I haven't talked to a while, and just telling a story and just catching up. So in a way, it was my way to grieve as well, just connecting with my friends, connecting with my family. So kind of just again but also having that responsibility. I had to move some things around with this business, and luckily, clients I work with were very forgiving, giving me the space. I was like, "Hey, I'll be around, but I'm not going to be responsive. We need to move this, that, or the other." And it's no big deal. And just
Right.
people are gonna understand, and if they
Yeah, I
don't,
know.
then if they don't,
If they
whatever.
don't, then yeah, you need to kick them to
Yeah,
the door. They're
yeah,
not
yeah.
part of
Like,
your
I
club.
told people like, yeah, we're moving the wedding and probably canceling it. They're like, yeah, yeah, obviously. Okay, okay, good, right? Because again, like, cultural values, family ties, we were kind of expecting like, hey, maybe someone would be pressuring us to still do the wedding in August. But it's like, no, we need to push it. And luckily, the venue was also super supportive. The photographer was great, DJ was great. So it all works out. Everyone plays their part. So that's good. I'm glad you were able to find comfort in work and still find time to grieve, and duty to the family.